Hello and welcome. This video was designed for people who choose to represent themselves in a court of law. In general terms, these people are known as pro se litigants, folks like you who choose to represent themselves without the help of an attorney. Throughout this video, we'll be offering you important information you'll need to know if you choose to represent yourself. Information about the legal process, the court system, and what the court will expect of you. This video is divided into short, easy-to-understand segments, or chapters, that briefly explain various legal concepts and details. At any point, you can stop the video and simply click on a chapter heading to review any chapter you wish. Before we get started, an important note from the Indiana Supreme Court. The court and its representatives want your court experience to be a positive one. Although you have the right to represent yourself in any court proceeding, the court does not encourage anyone to file and prosecute or defend their own divorce, paternity, protective order, or other civil or criminal case. Representing yourself in court may or may not be right for you. We want you to be fully informed because this decision may have long-term consequences. This video is provided as a service to help you decide whether you should continue to move forward on your own or if you should seek the help of an attorney. Information contained in the video should not be mistaken for actual legal advice. Only an attorney can provide such advice and instruction. At the end of this video presentation, if you decide that you want an attorney to represent you in court, we will supply you with a list of legal service providers that may help meet your needs. If, after carefully considering all the issues, you are planning to represent yourself in a court of law, there are several helpful resources, many available through the use of a computer with internet access. The Indiana Supreme Court has designed a useful website that provides court forms in English and Spanish, along with instructions for filling them out. The Indiana Supreme Court Self-Help Legal Center website can be found at the address shown on your screen. Here is a list of some of the forms you can access online at the Indiana Supreme Court Self-Help website. Remember that members of the Indiana Supreme Court staff are not allowed to help you with completing these forms. The Indiana Supreme Court strongly encourages you to consult with an attorney prior to filing any forms, even if you choose to represent yourself in court or choose to access the Self-Help website. County law libraries and local public libraries also have Indiana law books available to help you research and prepare for your case. You can ask for additional resources at your local public library. Once you've filed the correct paperwork with the clerk's office, you'll need to spend some time finding out about the people and procedures that you'll come across throughout your court proceedings. During these next few chapters, as we learn the roles of these important people and procedures within the Indiana court system, we'll also examine what's expected of you throughout this process. Included will be some background information, courtroom etiquette, and important tips that can help you better understand your relationship with the judge, the court staff, and others involved. First, a note about impartiality. The judge and the members of the court staff cannot help you or the other party argue or prove your case. They must remain completely impartial throughout the proceedings. They are not allowed to talk to either you or the other party outside of court. Nor may they read any letters or written statements you may have prepared concerning your case except during a court hearing. If you want the judge to read your testimony or written materials, you may, using correct courtroom procedures, submit these items as evidence. Submission of valid evidence is the only legal way to have the court consider your verbal or written testimony. This practice ensures fairness and impartiality throughout your case. Judges, clerks, law librarians, and other members of the court staff are not allowed to provide you with any legal advice, nor are they allowed to help you fill out forms and other paperwork pertaining to your case. The Indiana Supreme Court is very specific about the rules for providing legal advice. Only an attorney hired to represent you can provide legal instruction or guidance. Judges and court staff cannot provide legal advice or legal interpretations, advise you whether or not to pursue legal action in a court of law, or give you an opinion about the potential results of bringing your case to court, advise you what to say in court, allow you to talk to the judge outside the court, or represent you by talking to the judge about what will happen in your case, fill out a form for you, or tell you what words to use in your court papers, sign an order or change an order signed by the judge. Staff can answer questions that call for factual information, questions that start with who, what, where, when, or how. They cannot answer questions that call for an opinion about what you should do, questions that start with should or whether. For example, court staff can explain court rules and procedures, but they cannot suggest which of several procedures you should follow. Don't be late for your appointed court date and time. By the time your court date arrives, you will have spent a lot of time conducting research and working very hard to prepare the necessary legal paperwork for your case. The court will schedule your case many days in advance of the final hearing date. You will have plenty of time to plan for this important appointment. Make a good impression on the court by arriving on time. Even better, plan to be in the courtroom at least 15 minutes before your scheduled hearing time, and plan to bring copies of all your legal paperwork with you when you arrive. You may be asked to submit some final form or piece of information pertaining to your pleading. Be prepared. Be prompt. As you prepare for your court date, it is important that you dress in a manner that shows respect for the court and for the legal proceeding that is taking place. While you are not required to dress in formal attire, you should plan to dress as though you were planning to go to an important job interview or planning to attend a special occasion. Some courts may have specific guidelines for courtroom dress. It is always important to check with the court ahead of time to make sure that you know exactly what is expected of you. First impressions are always critical. If you want the court to take your arguments seriously, then you must dress appropriately so that people will take you seriously. If the judge thinks that you are inappropriately dressed, you may be asked to leave and return to court another day. You are not allowed to bring friends or family members with you to help you in your legal representation. While you certainly have a legal right to represent yourself in court, the law does not allow your friends or family members who are not attorneys to present themselves in court as your legal counsel. There may be times when it is necessary for you to present witnesses who may offer important evidence or testimony in court. The court recognizes that these witnesses may often include friends and relatives. In such instances, these people are acceptable in court, as long as they do not attempt to represent you as your legal counsel. You may also invite a friend or family member to join you in court simply for moral or emotional support. But remember that the appearance and behavior of anyone who joins you in the courtroom will reflect directly on you and your case. Therefore, your friends and family members should dress and act appropriately to show respect for the court and for the important proceeding of which you are a part. Your behavior in and around the courtroom and the court offices is also critically important. Here are some general guidelines for courtroom conduct. Do not bring children with you to your court appearance unless you are specifically asked to do so by the judge. Turn off cellular phones and pagers while in the courtroom, court offices, or when attending conferences called by the court. Do not chew gum, eat, or bring beverages into the courtroom at any time. Never appear in court if you have been consuming alcohol or illegal drugs. Enter and leave the courtroom quietly. Always stand when the judge or other judicial officer enters or leaves the bench. Always stand when addressing the judge or other judicial officer. Address these officials as Your Honor. Address all comments to the judge except when you are questioning a witness. Never yell or curse at the judge, the other party, or anyone else in the courtroom. Address all other people in the courtroom as either Mr. or Miss, or as Sir or Ma'am. An official record will be kept throughout the courtroom proceedings. All of your comments will be recorded. Be sure to speak clearly, slowly, and at a volume that can be heard and understood. Listen carefully and wait your turn to respond or speak. Do not interrupt others when they are talking. Along with copies of all your pleadings, be sure to bring a pen and paper to court with you. Take good notes so that you will have a record of what the other party is saying. This can also help you better prepare your own responses. If you get confused or do not understand something, or if you're confused about what you're required to do next, it is perfectly okay to ask questions. Always address the judge when you ask. Do not interrupt. Be sure to speak clearly and in a respectful manner. Let's start with some general terms and common rules of procedure in an Indiana court of law. The person who files a divorce or paternity action is known as the petitioner. The person the suit is filed against is known as the respondent. Once you are given the title of petitioner or respondent, you will keep this title throughout your case. Each piece of paperwork submitted to the court is known as a pleading. If you choose to represent yourself in court, there are several responsibilities of which you must be aware. You must research the statutes, rules, procedures, and laws that pertain to your case. Law libraries, and even some public libraries, are good resources for finding this information. Law librarians or members of the court staff may be able to point you in the right direction when it comes to locating such materials. However, these people cannot in any way provide you with legal advice or help you fill out the paperwork that you will need to submit when processing your pleadings within the court system. In chapters 29 and 30 at the end of this video, there are several legal resources listed to help you in your research. As the petitioner, you must prepare all legal paperwork required to open a case. Both parties must provide copies of all court filings to the other party or to the attorney who represents the other party. You must meet all court requirements and deadlines for filing. When appropriate, you must present witnesses and evidence in your case. You must know when and how to make proper objections within a court of law. You must present yourself and your case in a professional manner. To file your case, you will need to take the originals and copies of your pleadings to the clerk of the court and ask them to file the paperwork. By calling the clerk's office before you file, you can find out how many copies you will need to supply the court and the other party. If you do not provide enough copies, the county clerk's office will likely charge you to copy each page. The clerk will then provide the case number and process the forms. If you are filing for a divorce, Indiana law requires that you must wait at least 60 days after you file the paperwork to finish your divorce. As you prepare your paperwork, remember that the county clerk, the librarian, or anyone on the court staff will not have fill-in-the-blank forms for you to use. And, as mentioned previously, none of these people may help you complete the proper paperwork. Also, you will not be able to find form kits that comply with Indiana law at an office supply store or through the internet. The Indiana Supreme Court offers information at the website listed on your screen. The site contains some common pleading forms specific to Indiana law, complete with instructions. Most of the pleadings we talk about in this video can be found on this site. It's very important that you follow all instructions, or the court may not approve your pleadings and your divorce proceedings or paternity suit may be delayed.